Om Mangalam Gurudevaya Devi Matriksha Mangalam Mangalam Bhakta Brindevyo Sarvalokaya Mangalam Stapakaya Chadharmasya Sarvadharma Sarupini Avatar Varishta Ramakrishna Te Namaha Om Sarashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Ashmarachara Prayantam Vande Gurum Paramparam Om Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Deva Maheshwara Guru Deva Param Brahman Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Om Bhadrakali Namo Nityam Saraswati Namo Namaha Veda Viranga Vedanta Vijastana Evacha Sri Ganesha Sharada Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om Jai Ma. We're continuing our discussion on the Kali Sahasranāma. This is the 1,000 names of the Divine Mother Kali. There are many lists of 1,000 names of the goddesses. So there's thousands of thousand named hymns. So we sometimes think, the way we sometimes word it, this is 1,000 names of she who is known by unlimited names. So, and the names cover every variety from her lila, stories, her ritual, traditional practices, her legends, folk traditions, as well as philosophical, ontological points are made. So we've chosen the Kali Sahasranāma, and we've been talking for some years now. We're in what chapter, what verses? We're verse 39, and we're in name 313 out of 1,000, right? So we've been talking a long time. We'll be talking a long time about, thinking about a long time about these names, and it's great because we chose Kali Sahasranāma because it allows us to speak for years on Kali, right? And so it's a very nice way to do it, just as unlimited. And actually the Sahasranāma, we discussed this when we first started this series. I'm fond of Sahasranāmas, these 1,000 named hymns. The most popular one, of course, is the Vishnu Sahasranāma and the Lalita Sahasranāma are very popular. And when I was first learning to chant Lalita Sahasranāma, our mentor, Sargam Shah, when Sri Vidya Pasak up in the Northern California, my spiritual mother when I was in school, she used to say that because she recites every day, twice a day, Lalita Sahasranāma, as her sadhana at that time she was doing. And she said, every day a different name jumps out, even though I chant all 1,000. But some name jumps out that some another is meaningful for that. It fills my day to think, what does that mean, or why is it connected to that? So I've found this to be the case by reciting these names or meditating upon these names. Good. So the Kali Sahasranāma, I have 3 versions of it, 3 different Kali Sahasranāmas. This is my favorite. This is the one we chose. I think it's because it has such a huge variety of traditions that feed it. All the different schools of Tantra, all the different stories from the Puranas. Like I said, all these folk traditions, folk deities are there, as well as very profound philosophy. So last week? 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago, what was last week? Kali Pujya.
Yeah.
Amavasya. Last week was Amavasya. So 2 weeks ago, we started verse 39. These names: cāruṅgī, cañcalā, lola-jihvā, cāru-caritriṇī. And cārvaṅgī, just to give a little bit, I need some time, a little bit of a running head start, so I'll go back a few names to catch up. Right? Cārvaṅgī. Cārva means delightful and beautiful, right? And angi means limbs. She has beautiful limbs. She was handsome. She has beautiful limbs, right? Attractive. Cañcalā is the name. Cañcalā means wavering, unfixed, unsteady. It's a name for Lakshmi. Lakshmi is always, everybody wants Lakshmi, but Lakshmi, what did we think of? We start putting qualities to Lakshmi. It's health, happiness, success, money, these type of things, fortune, right? Luck, right? All those things, when we have them, we should rejoice at the Divine Mother's presence. But her presence is also cañcalā. She's unsteady. So these things they don't stay easily, right? So that's one thing, this is a name referring to these qualities of Lakshmi, of things that don't stay, but also her nature is moving, change, right? And in the previous name, in the previous cluster, which I gave you those verses, verse 38, there's a bunch of names like Stanuhu, and Stira and Dira, which means fixed, unmoving, right? So she's fixed, she's steady, she's established, she's unmoving, and she's cañcalā, moving, right? So we talked a little bit about that. She's both, and so one we could think about everything we see that's moving. We even say in the Guru Mantra we say that she who revealed the truth of that which is moving and unmoving. Right. So we think that in these two categories. So she's everything, but also this may be referring back to more tantric ontology of Shiva and Shakti, that which is unmoving and steady, and that which is manifest and moving, perhaps Brahman and Jagat, like that. We talked about this last time, and then we spent most of the time on this lola-jihvā, which she was, and it's the most startling and most obvious iconographic aspect of Kali, which is her long, lolling tongue. Lola, we get perhaps the cognate for the word lolling from lola, which means lolling, right? And jihvā means tongue. We spent a lot telling the various aspects of what what meaning has been applied, been interpreted from her lolling tongue, as well as some of the historical, where it first appears in the scriptures, like the Chandi and the Vedas, like that. We spent time on that. And then we cāru-caritriṇī, also cāru means beautiful, just like cāruṅgī. So she has beautiful limbs, and cāru-caritriṇī, caritriṇī means story. Her life story is also beautiful. She's beautiful, and her story, her history is also beautiful. And so we think, what does that mean? If her history is just the stories of Kali, right? Sometimes we think of the main stories of Kali. Beauty is not the one. When you think of specifically the form of Kali, she comes sometimes very fierce to kill demons, right? But even that story for devotees, there's so many lines where the person listening to these stories says, "I didn't hear more. I wish I had more ears to hear more of these stories." Right? They're still attractive. Right, or in generally about the like Divya Mahatmya, the glories, the majesty of the goddess, right? But also, if we've tried to hint at so many of these names, that this whole world is also her. All these qualities are things we see in this world. Sometimes we're steady, sometimes we're unsteady, sometimes we're attractive, sometimes we're not attractive, sometimes we're healthy, we're not healthy. All these, and so many of these names were in these kind of dualistic this and that. These also states of reality. These are also her. Our story, or this story, is also quite charming, right? Cāru-caritriṇī, right? So that's where these are from last week. I'm caught up. Get myself warmed up with some coffee also. Hold on. On a cold night. So what name are we now? cāravaṅgī cañcalā lola-jihvā cāru-caritriṇī trapāvatī lajjā vilajjā hrīḥ rajovatī. We're 39. So we're on name. Where are we here? I'm looking at this without. I have more. Okay, if there's more. If anybody else should look, I have. Hold on. I think I gave away my notes. Somebody have my notes?
No.
You have just translation, right? Yeah, you have my. I gave you my notes. Like going, what happened to my notes? Okay, thank you.
I was wondering. They look different.
They look different. Yeah, thank you. What happened is I use an app called Sermonary for organizing my notes. It's for people developing sermons. And it's great, and I can do it usually I have it on my iPad, no problem. And it's glitching, where I open it up and it just goes on and off, it just won't, and I can't get out of it. I can't open it, and I can't stop it from continuously trying to open. And so the last week I used my laptop and worked fine. This week it's doing on my laptop. So I had to print it out, and hopefully this doesn't keep glitching on me, but it glitched on me. You took it. It still glitched on me, so yeah. 3, 4, 3 pages. Trapā. So the translation, there's two existing translations of this hymn. One is by Swami Satyananda of the Devi Mandir, and one is, I'm forgetting just now, I should have had it with me. I usually have it in my notes also, because I referred to them by a devotee of Anandamoy Ma. They have another translation. And both of them add different flavors, and you still have to, dive in and try to study more. But I use those as a foundation for translation. And this one stumped me. Swami Satyananda translated "She who saves from fear," and the trapā could be, the traya has a bit of a meaning of this, but that's not the normal meaning of trapā. So I say it because maybe there's some meaning that I'm missing for this term. From trayate and things like that, from some sort of freedom or crossing over, maybe something there. Can leave it for later. Yeah. But it's not the normal, not the obvious meaning for trapā. And trapā means like bashful, right? Modest. And it makes sense here because this whole cluster of names, like the word lajjā and hrīḥ, these both mean literally modest, right? Or like this. So that has to be. It's a cluster of names. So we'll interpret it. We'll use that as our jumping off point. Trapā. Sorry, not trapā. 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 It's used, that term is used, and we find it in other texts. There's a famous hymn, the Gita Govinda of Jayadev Goswami, where it says, Mandara trapā bhara. There it's used like bashful, right? So, and modest. So this is and sometimes it's translated shame. And of course, shame has a negative meaning. We're triggered by this term. Right, perhaps because we've been overemphasized in an unhealthy psychological way in our culture and religions, right? But I put in my translation shame, but then but not in the bad sense, right? So perhaps there's a good sense of shame. She is trapā. She is shame. Or later lajjā, ya devi sarva bhuteshu lajjā rupena samsita. She who exists in all beings as lajjā. So same thing. Same word is kind of there, right? So it could be, I put actually in not in the bad sense, but then I put, and all in my notes, in a good and a bad sense. Because sometimes shame this has two meanings in the Sanskrit sense. One is that when we do something wrong, we should feel bad. We should not be happy with our faults, or with our mistakes, or when we wrong somebody, or when we break dharma, or when we do not live up to our own potential, like this. We shouldn't necessarily feel. Maybe we shouldn't. Perhaps in our inherited history, we're made to feel horrible about such things, right? Maybe we shouldn't feel horrible, but we shouldn't not feel bad. Right, it's healthy to feel bad when we don't live up to the mark, our own expectations, other people's expectations, whatever the standard is. So that's the kind of a negative sense of shame, right? The other one is just being modest or being dignified, right? And this is not of course, every culture has a different standard what that is. So we're not going to superimpose just an ancient foreign definition of what it means to be modest, how to live modestly. Every culture has an understanding of modesty, right? And of a particular, and that comes from a particular dignity. It doesn't have to come from external rules and judgment. It could also come from an internal dignity, right? So she is these are another thing we've interpreted all these names, especially when they're as adjectives as well as these are describing her. She has this, right? But it's also talking ontology. She is these things. So when we see these things, every manifestation of consciousness that we have, every psychological state, every physical state, is her, right? Lajjā is like in that list. Yadevi sarvabhuteshu. It also says Bhranti rupena samsita, right? Confusion. It's not saying confusion's good, but it's her. Or it says she who is forgiveness, she who is hunger, she who is thirst, she who is sleepy, she who is, everything. Every state is only her, right? So these states, when we find them in ourselves or we see them other, these are also her. So it's one way to see her in all these states, but also these are describing something of her character also, or a quality of the divine, of Kali. And so when we think of Kali, sometimes we don't always think, right, as she's bashful and shy and demure. These aren't there's other goddesses that may better represent those aspects or those cultural norms, right? Or Jaima. But when Kali first appears, like in the Chandi, she appears very fierce. She appears naked, disheveled hair, fangs, right? Swinging a sword, drinking the blood of Raktabija, right? Cutting the head of Chanda and Munda. These are not the signs you see of somebody who's shy or modest and covered, right? And last week or 2 weeks ago, when we talked about the story of the symbolism of her tongue, very often the most common version of why she's sticking her tongue out, people have given in the folk tradition, especially in Bengal, is out of shame. She steps on her husband, gets embarrassed, and sticks out her tongue, which is a very, very common. I think we do that, and it's also a very Indian thing. You stick your tongue when you've done something wrong, right? But so that story is told, right? It's not really scriptural, right? The other versions of the scriptures where Ma sticks out her tongue are not that at all, right? She drinks the blood of Raktabija. She in the Devi Mahabhagavat Purana, it describes that her tongue sticking out is a sign of her power, not the sign of her. It's the exact opposite, right? And in those stories, sometimes she's her appearing on the battlefield like this is in fury, right? In some of the versions of the story, we told she's also upset, not just at the demons, but at the gods. We mentioned this story last time. It's an unusual, little-known story, because the gods gave the demons a boon that they can only be killed by a woman, right? That's known in the Chandi. In the Devi Bhagavata, it says by woman, by a naked woman, right? And the gods gave blessings, gave that boon. So Kali was furious at Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva for how dare Shiva's her spouse, Brahma and Vishnu are her children, right? Somebody would give such a boon that a demon be killed by their wife or their mother in public naked, right? So she's also not just furious at the demons, also furious at the gods, right? So it's interesting, another story like this, showing that she also has shame, right? But one of the other names, she's also vilajjā, she's shameless. Whatever she needs to do, she can do, right? And so we can see we should also have some modesty and shame, but we need to do. What needs to be done, we have to do, right? Anyways, an interesting take on that tradition. We spent an hour last time on these versions of these stories. Recordings there if you're interested, right? So, but interesting, trapā has another kind of implied meaning in the term, right? It also means somebody who should be ashamed, meaning somebody who's, or somebody somebody who is, it can be, so first, with this negative term of the term shame in our cultural use, is like, it's a judging term for somebody who of bad character or perceived bad character, bad sexual character. We think, oh, the shameful what they're doing. What do you see? What he did or what she did? It's a shameful relationship. That type of stuff. That there is an implied in that term trapā, right? Is also used for somebody who's like wanton or immoral, right? Or promiscuous, unchaste. right? So it's interesting that if we interpret both of these as her qualities, she who is modest, but she who's also accused or seen as unchaste, right? So that even shown by that story of her appearing on the battlefield to kill the demons and save the gods, right? Both appearing naked, but also angry that she had to appear naked, right? In that story. So it's interesting things like this, right? And trapā also has another meaning, right? Is getting kind of deep into the Sanskrit roots of the term of a family line or race, right? So and if you connect it to the idea is almost like a dignified family. She comes from a good family, right? And therefore a family that has its own dignity, right? Shame, modesty, bashful, these terms are there. What's the next one? Trapā, trapāvatī. So trapāvatī is a very it's related to the same. So if trapā means shame, trapāvatī, she who is shame, who has shame, not shameful. She who is shameful and she who has shame, right? So it's she who is the avati type of ending, right? So she who is modest, or she who has shame, or like this, right? Then the next name, lajjā. Lajjā is more, no, I keep even trying to describe, to give explanation of trapā, I keep using lajjā. Right? Lajjā is a very well-known term, like especially because, I mean, I learned it 35 years ago when I learned the Chandi, Yādevi sarvabhuteshu lajjā rupena samsita. She who appears as bashfulness or shame, right? And who exists, but Yādevi sarvabhut, that goddess who exists as lajjā, this quality, every quality, not just this quality, samsita, Yādevi sarvabhuteshu, in all beings, right? So that all beings means you and you and you, even you. And you back there, right? You know, it's like these are our qualities, right? She exists as these qualities within all beings, right? So it's like we see these qualities in us. Maybe sometimes we don't have these qualities enough. Sometimes we have too much, whatever. When we have these qualities, and in others, this is the Divine Mother's own presence, and these are her qualities, right? So similar: shame, modesty, bashfulness, embarrassment. Right. And it's not considered a sign of weakness. That's the thing. Sometimes we think we have such a negative term idea toward this term, right? But rather a sign of high birth. And this is of course, this is pulling on Indian standards, ancient Indian social standards, where like Holy Mother would say that lajjā is the modesty is the ornament, a feminine ornament of a woman, right? That's a very Indian steeped statement. But all traditions have some quality. These are describing, this cluster of names is describing in Indian aesthetics feminine qualities, right? But but the thing is, she exists in all beings with these qualities, not just in women. Right? We all have to have these qualities. We all have, and maybe can also develop lajjā, right? And so it's a sign of, and a big point is, and many of these names keep bringing back whenever this term, this idea is introduced. Usually, it's coupled in a cluster of names with the idea that she's from a noble lineage, right? She's from a high family. Of course, she's from the original family. She's the source, the mother of everybody, right? But also, I mean, there's that she's royalty. She's the queen mother. She's any of her stories as Parvati, the daughter of Daksha. You know, all the stories show some from a very high. She's born in her stories, born in lines of kings and lines of sages and lines of ascetics and lines in the world of the gods, right? So her standards, her behavior is very dignified. Right. So these are, yeah. Yeah, maybe. So even I remember, and we have on the shrine, we have that big stone yantra. It's a Kali yantra, right? And down below, in front of Holy Mother, we have a crystal version of the Shri yantra, Meru yantra. And the rule is, right, in the center bindu of a Shri yantra. If you have a Shri yantra at home, I'll give you the rule. It should always be it should never be uncovered. That bindu should always, a little bit of kumkum or something should be there, right? Kumkum or sandalwood paste or a little flower petal, something, right? And I was explained by also Shri Vidya Upasak. He says, this is to protect Ma's lajjā. This is her privacy. Because this is a very intimate, this is the bindu in the central triangle is the most intimate. It's geographically, or geometrically represented, right, in a yantra. But it represents the very source, the foundation, the womb of the world, right? The most intimate part. So it's always covered with a little bit of kumkum. Even when we're bathing it, there's a ceremony, we do it several times a year, where we're actually ritually bathing and making offerings to the Shri Yantra. Every time, water is poured and like that. And as soon as water is poured, immediately a little bit of sandalwood paste is put on the bindu and then continue. And again, the next bath comes, and again, immediately the bindu is covered. Right, it's part, and it's protect her lajjā, her privacy, her intimacy, right? She's not exposed, right? Lajjā, but then the next name. So, vilajjā. Trapāvatī, page 2, 4. So the term V in this sense is it's something that makes something special. So sometimes it means really something, or sometimes it's such an indicator of specialness that it means the opposite. Like an example, somebody in common Hindi, based on Sanskrit, there's for somebody who's a native born of a country, deshi, right? And a foreign person is called videshi. So it means the opposite, somebody who's not a deshi, right? Not natural born. But it also means like whatever deshi is, videshi intensifies it. So it's a special type of deshi, a special type of, so you could say like a foreign immigrant is a special type of citizen. Something like that. So it's both the opposite and as well as exalting the thing. Another thing we use in the Gita and the like, we have this term jnana and vijnana. Jnana, and so sometimes we say, jnana means knowledge, and vijnana is special knowledge or intimate knowledge. But so there it's a specialized, heightened form of knowledge, wisdom or something like that, or experience, and not the opposite of knowledge, right? But V also sometimes means the opposite. So here, I think the fact that it's right next to each other, I think our first swipe at it should be, she's lajjā and vilajjā. She's modesty and immodesty. We can take it that sense, right? That she's so to say, Ma is, you have to all proper and covered and modest and feminine like that. One thing we know from the Kali images, this is not the way she appears all the time. She's fierce, she's naked, she's free, she's liberated, she's liberating, right? She's not. She doesn't behave as lajjā. She's behaving as the dutiful wife, right? But Kali steps on her husband, right? She's not serving her husband. She actually, in one of the story, she throws him down and stomps on him, right. In some of the versions, other portions that Shiva, out of devotion, lays down and holds her feet on his heart. Right, but she is supreme, right? She's not in that position. So whatever lajjā means, she's that, right? But she's also vilajjā. She's the opposite of that also, vilajjā. Jai Ma, Jai Ma. So if lajjā means shame, she's shameless. If lajjā means modest, she's immodest also. If lajjā means prudent, another one. I didn't mention that. It's another one of the meanings. She's also vijala. She's imprudent, right? If she's bashful, she's also unabashed, right? And so these to get the little flavor of the stories of Kali, right? Right. So some of the commentaries given on these ideas, traditional commentaries, say that as lajjā, she's rigid. In fighting evil, she's rigid, inflexible, like that. But also in fighting evil, in the stories, she'll do anything necessary. Right? In the story, she had to appear naked on the battle. Of course, we give the philosophical interpretation given to Ma's nakedness is she's digambara, she's unbounded, she's infinite, and therefore cannot be no limit, can't be covered, and she's infinite in the fact that she can't be conceived, right? So her nakedness means that she's infinite, she's unbounded, she's he says like the sky, right? That you can't put a limit on the sky. Her name Digambari also means unbounded like the sky. Something we say. Jai Ma, Jai Ma. Jai Ma, most welcome. Nice to see you again. Unbounded like the sky. So that's a philosophical meaning. But in the stories, she also appears like in more dramatically this way. Yeah. And then the other name is another. These names all have a similar meaning. Is hrīḥ. Hrīḥ, so Shri also means shame. It's another word, right? We shouldn't now we go shame as people walk by. That's not what's meant here, obviously, right? Right. But Hri also means heart. We get the word heart from it, hridaya, right? So it's something. So there, I gives another meaning of what this idea may mean. That it's the most intimate thing. Actually in Bij, usually we don't say Bij mantras outside of sadhana and puja, but they're the main mantra for the Devi, called the Maya Bija, they call it's Hrim, right? And so that is only the word Hri, which means heart, right? Or Hri, which means like shame or bashfulness or modesty, right? With the Chandra Bindu, with turning it into a mantra form. So it's the first syllable of Hridaya, of heart. So the first word of Hrida is Hri. So it's and the Hrim mantra, sometimes it's called the Maya Bij or the Devi Bij, or the Bhuvaneshwari Bija, but its technical term in the tantras is Hrileka, and that means a scratch or a line on the heart. So it's a very interesting meditation to think what that might mean, right? But it means it's very intimate. It's a groove. It's a something at the very essence of something in our heart, right? So when we're interpreting lajjā and trapā and trapāvatī and vilajjā, this name gives a hint that it's something so intimate, and something so intimate has to be treated very carefully, right? That's the thing. So it's the most intimate thing. Usha uses this example sometimes, is that you could we can play in the dirt and throw leaves at each other, no problem like that. But if one, and what we do is wash it off, no problem, right? But if one speck of dust gets into our eye, how painful it is, right? It happens to me a lot, right? So you pull out your eyelashes, if you need to, you go to a doctor. Swami Vivekananda says, I'll go to 100 doctors to get something removed out of my eye. Spend any amount of money, right? Because it's so intimate. The more intimate, closer you get to the heart of our heart, Ma's heart, or to the heart of anything, right? The more, means the more sensitive, and therefore the more careful one has to be. Something smaller can cause trouble, right? So maybe in the external world of our social world, we have to navigate our social realities of what modesty and immodesty and the changing standards, and as we push back against inherited traditions that don't make sense, or maybe shouldn't make sense, or maybe should make sense, we don't know, right? That's one thing, right? But this may be going something deeper at the real heart of this level, or this type of modesty, or this type of intimacy is something so close. We have to be so careful, right? And when when the priests from Dakshineshwar came, they came many years, 17 years, 18 years they came. And every year they'd change the deity, they'd change her sari. Now we've learned to do it, since after Harinam's passing, we had to learn how to change. It's a little complicated. We have to sew it on her and things like that. But I remember it's like Ma's taken off the shrine, which is very unusual to see, and then all her jewelry is removed and her clothes removed, and she gets bathed in a new sari, and her hair gets redone, her jewelry gets washed. It's very intimate type of stuff. I remember they were thinking we should lock all the doors, right? So this is our mother, right? So it's like of course the meditation mantra on Kali, she naked, surrounded by burning corpses, howling like blood dripping, sword, severed head. I mean, the image is not modest at all, but their mood was, this is our mother, right? And so our mother, you don't expose, right? So that's one thing. Just the idea of a child to its mother, very Indian idea of the child to its mother, that strong sentiment like that. But even I took that even, because that's the bhava, the mood of it. She's our mother. We don't show her. We show her. She only appears properly dressed and things like to the public, right? But it's also the image is there. It's the pranapratistana with his heart. The priest invoked the being, the very essence of his being, into the image. It was literally a manifestation of his heart. It's the most intimate thing, right? And therefore has to be seen carefully and presented carefully and dignified, right? And not anybody could see, not anybody can touch. It's too intimate, right? So that I think this term hrīḥ is as the essence of showing the whole thing, why it's so intimate. So it's the very essence of it, right? In the Lalita Sahasranāma, the 1,000 names of Lalita, a similar name is there, hrīmati, means she who is endowed with modesty. The same idea, right? So in the previous weeks, we whenever we can, we try to show how these names are also repeated, or find they're identical or very similar to names in Lalita Sahasranāma. And Lalita Sahasranāma is very different than the Kali Sahasranāma. And we sometimes talk like this, is that Lalita and Kali are very different, right? And like, I think last time we also mentioned the first name in the Lalita Sahasranāma. Anybody remember what it is? Shri. Shri means auspicious. Shri Mata Si Maharajni, right? It starts as Shri, the auspicious, Mata, mother. Maharajni, the great queen. Right, so it starts a certain way, right? And the first name in Kali Sahasranāma, you remember? No, it's smashan, cremation ground. Right, that's very different. One starts with the auspicious mother, queen of the universe. The other starts with cremation. Smashana Kali, second name, right? The cremation ground and the Kali of the cremation ground. Right, so you can get more different, but in the realm of names of the goddess, these are two extremes, right? But we also know that in the Kali Sahasranāma, actually one of the reasons I chose this text years ago, and we said there's a cluster of names that are directly referring to Kali as Tripura Sundari, Lalita, and the Sri Chakra, right? Showing that they're the same goddess. In the Lalita Sahasranāma, there are many names specifically defining her as Kali. Right, so that's a common thing in Sahasranāmas. You mention other goddesses to show that your goddess is, that they're the same or absorbed and like this, right? To find identification. But you can't get more different than Kali and Lalita. But there's hundreds of shared names, right? There's I don't have my because of my glitch, I don't have those notes. But just last week, I think there was 4 shared names. But actually, maybe here, Tamasi is named, Stira is shared, Dita is shared, Tapasvini is shared, right? There's all these, so they're the same. So they're the same, but the flavor is different between Kali and Lalita. And sometimes we can't overdo it, but sometimes it's overdone, and there's pushback. There's some academic pushback. But I like this way of thinking of like the full moon and the new moon, right? We worship Kali on the new moon, the dark moon, and Lalita is worshipped. Her Sri Chakra Puja is done generally on the full moon nights, right? And so in the realm of moonness, right, you can't get more opposite than the full moon and a new moon, right? There's extreme, right? But it's only the moon, and the difference is only in our perspective, right? We're seeing the moon a certain way, and the shadows and things like that. But nothing's really the moon is the moon, whether it's lit up or not lit up, or from our perspective, right? So similarly, Kali and Lalita, the goddess is the goddess, right? But there's still some flavor differences, and the stories are different, right? So I think that whenever we we find names like shame and bash and modesty, right? But then you also find names that she who is fear, she who is immodest, she who is without shame, she who is naked, she who screams, she who is anger, she who destroys, right? She who liberates, she who blesses, she who gives birth, she who is it's like you get the full spectrum, right? So you have to balance it out, and not use this. That this is the only thing. Everybody has to cover up and behave, and behave yourself. That's not what's obviously that's not what's meant. It can't be what's meant. But yeah. And the final name in this one I have printed is rajovatī. So rajovatī, I think will this name will have to. Next week, I think we're meeting next week, right? Next week is still a satsang. Then the week after that, is Holy Mother's birthday, 2 Saturdays. And we'll do puja, as our little program note, we'll do puja in the morning. Not next Saturday, the following, 21st. Her sun birthday is on the 22nd, and her solar birthday, Saptami, is the 21st this year. So they're very close. It's very auspicious. So we'll have special puja in the morning, and the evening bhajan program and things like that, rather than a satsang. Maybe we'll read from her life or something. But next week we'll fold in rajovatī. Kind of fits the next cluster of names. It's kind of moving away from this direct, but just for the sake of completing what's on the page, right? Comes from the word Raja. Here Raja as in Raja Guna, not Raja as in king or royal, but Raja Guna as in passionate. Right, and so this is from the 3 gunas idea. She who is sattva or sattvic. She who is, and the previous it says in verse 38, tamisra tamasi. She who is darkness, right? She who is tamas. So she's tamas, she's sattva, and she's rajas. And she's sattvic, and she's tamasic, and she's rajasic. So sattvic means peaceful, pure, like that. Radiant, rajas means passionate, energetic, like that, active, and tamasa means dark, ignorant, inertia. So the full spectrum. She is the whole thing. And this name, rajovatī, she who is the repository of the possessor, is rajo and vanti in the Sanskrit. Rajovatī means rajo and vanti. Vanti means possessor. She who possesses rajas. And so as rajas, she creates the world, right? And sattva, when we think of the classical theological Western system definition of God, is that creator, sustainer, and destroyer or transformer. So that is in Sanskrit terminology. These are the qualities of rajas, to create activity, sattva, to preserve, sustain, and tamas, to destroy or to transform. Right, and these are also attributed to when they're attributed to deity forms, this is Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Brahma creates; he's a deity of Rajaguna. Vishnu sustains; he's the deity of Sattvaguna, and Shiva destroys, the deity of Tamaguna. Those are connected. These are called the Trimurti. Those are connected to the three Devis. So she's as Saraswati, she's the Shakti of Brahma to create. As Lakshmi, she's the Shakti of Vishnu to sustain. And as Parvati or Kali or Durga, she is the Shakti of Shiva to destroy or to transform or to dissolve. Right. So here she's rajovatī. She's the one who has Rajaguna, the one who creates. Other names, Tamisra and Tamasi, she is also the one who destroys. And many names we've already gotten to, and will be in the next few verses also, she who sustains everything. So if she creates, sustains, and destroys, she also, it says in the very popular mantra from the Chandi, Narayani Stuti, what is it? Sristi Stiti Vinashanam, that's one. Sristi Stiti Vinashanam, Shakti Bhute Sanatani, Gunashraye Gunamaye, Narayani Namustite. Sristi Stiti Vinasha. Sristi means to create, Rajaguna, Rajovatī, this name. Sristi, Stiti means to establish, the sta sound from establish is there, establish, Vishnu Shakti, Sattva. And Vinashanam, and one who destroys. She is the one who creates, sustains, and destroys. It's a way of saying that she is Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. She is the Shakti of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. They're not doing it. When they do it, it's her. Right? She's everything. Right? And then it says, Sristi Siti Vinashanam, Shakti Bhute. She's the Shakti of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, or who creates the state. And Sanatani, she's eternal and unchanging. So she's the changing Shakti, which creates, sustains, and destroys, right? And she is the unchanging, right? In Vedanta, we call that Brahman. In Tantra, we call that Paramashiva, right? She is a supreme reality. And in Christianity, like Paul Tillich and things like that would use the term like the ground of being or the God beyond God, like this. The darkness from which. Darkness, not because it's dark, because because it's not an object of sight. It's not an object comprehension, so it's unknown, but it's the foundation. So she's the eternal as well as the temporal, right? So this name is hinting, Rajovatī is hinting at that. So with that, we've gone through name 319 of 1,000. We'll do the rest of the other. We'll finish the rest of 1,000 next week, God willing. I'll speak faster, drink a stronger coffee. Will get me there. Let me get this coffee. Any comments or questions or about these and similar? They always say, "Speak now or forever hold your peace." Yes.
When you were describing Ma being bathed and the privacy,
do you
also have some sort of Ganesha ritual because he's like the guardian of the tomb?
Well, yes, actually, even the story of Ganesha comes from this, right? So there's many stories of Ganesha's birth, right? But the dominant one, the one that's won out, the one that gets told again and again, right? The one that people think of is that Shiva was off doing tapasya, is what he does. He's up in the Himalayas doing his own thing. And Parvati went to go take a bath. And if you go to, I remember that we went there recently to Kailash, not Kailash, Amarnath. The Amarnath cave, there's a place called Gaurikund, right, where it said that Parvati bathed there. Other versions, if you do go to Kailash, there's also Gaurikund. And they say that's where it happened. This is where, and in, So anyways, wherever this happened, there's a Devi went to go bathe, and what she did, she took the dirt from her body, right, and she smeared it with turmeric, haldi, right, and mixed it with the oils and dirt and sweat of her body, and that's a very common thing. It's not a common. I mean, you can't say it's not common in California, but bathing in turmeric is considered very auspicious, right? And it's antiseptic, and it's considered beautifier. It tints the body. Very few people do it now. I haven't seen. There's one saint, what's it, traveling, Karunamai. Karunamai, you'll see her body kind of is slightly yellow because she she bathes in turmeric. The only person I know who's still bathing in turmeric. She's very traditional this way. Her body is her skin's yellow from turmeric. So she does turmeric, and then she created a little boy, a little image out of that turmeric and dirt from her body. And her body, Parvati means she's from the mountain, so it represents the body also, dirt from the body. And turmeric is also the color of Muladhara chakra, which is the earth chakra, right? So it has lots of esoteric symbolism. But she created a little boy and says, "You guard me, you guard me while I'm bathing. You protect my modesty." So it's exactly Ganesha himself was originally done to protect the intimate inner quarters of the goddess where she's bathing. So he picked up his I guess whatever weapon he had, at that time, and guarded the door, right? And then Shiva came back from his tapasya, and he wanted to go see his wife, but Ganesha does not know him because this is he's the son of Shiva, but not the son of Shiva, right? It's a unique. We have a version of the virgin birth here also, the son of God and virgin birth. So so they get into a fight in the story, and then Shiva cuts off his head and gets another head, and the whole story is there, right? And he's given a boon from Lord Shiva that he'll always protect he always will protect the Devi's quarter, right? And he's given the boon that he's worshipped before any other god, including Shiva, right? So in that story, which is a very commonly known story, there's a lot of, and we do it in Pujya, we start with Ganesha, everything we start with Ganesha. Before a wedding, before a business, before a trip, before education, everything's Ganesha's invoked at the beginning. But in Pujya especially, we work Ganesha at the beginning. It's very deeply meaningful because where he lives is at Gaurikund. Gauri, the goddess's pond or pit, right? Where is that Gaurikund? Ganesha in our body, according to yogis, right? I'm giving a yogic interpretation, tantric and yogic interpretation, right? Ganesha is in Muladhara chakra at the base of the spine, right? And Muladhara chakra is also where Kula Kundalini is. Kundalini, the energy in the Kunda. There's different meanings of Kundalini. That's one of the meanings, right? So she's the energy, the mother, who exists in the Kund, in a pit, in a pond, or in a fire, in that Lalita Sahasranāma verse I started, Srimatasi Maharajini, right? I said that she was mother, the queen, the auspicious mother who's the queen, Chiragnikunda Sambhuta. Where is she? Simhasimhasadeshwari. She sits on a lion throne. Where is that throne? Chiragnikunda, in the fire pit of consciousness, right? And there she does the work of the god Devya Kara Samudjita, something like that. It's been a while. So I used to do it all the time, and I only do it when I have to impress people when I chant verse 1 of 180 something verses. But so Chiragnikunda Sambhuta, she exists in the fire pit of consciousness, right? So that could be in the very nature of our at the foundation of our consciousness, right? Yogically, that fire pit of consciousness is in the base of the spine, right? And Muladhara, at the base. To say at the base of the spine is giving you too much a physical location, right? That's a map we can use at the base of our being, right? And that she exists, right? And he protects her, right? And so he's protecting her modesty, right? We cannot just barge into her bathing place, her living place, right? So we need permission, right? And then he gives perhaps a hint of what that permission looks like when it's granted, what it takes to enter her kingdom, her queendom, her inner quarters, right? Our inner quarters, the very foundation, the very essence of the hrīḥ, the very heart of our being, right? It says Ganapati or Gana Isha, right? This name has some meaning. What is a Gana? The Ganas are like the hosts, the attendants of Shiva, the heavenly hosts. And Shiva has all kinds of Ganas, Shiva Ganas they call them, right? But when she made Ganesha in the story, she says, Shiva has all these Ganas. I want one that's just devoted to me, right? Something that will just serve me. Not everybody serves me because I'm married to Shiva. They're all devotees of Shiva, and they serve me because I'm his wife. I want somebody who's completely devoted to me, right? And so he gets that position. Ganapati is the lord of the Ganas, the foremost, right? The foremost of the Ganas. Gana esoterically means is interpreted as senses, right? And so we control. So Ganapati is the one who Pati controls or masters the senses, right? So this may be also a hint into this lajjā and trapā and trapāvatī names, right? It's about self-control, about self-mastery, about it's because until one control the senses, one can't go beyond matter. And we can't go beyond matter, then you're stuck in Muladhara. And you can't, to use a language of Tantra and yoga, the Devi won't wake up and come up, right? So we have to, by worshiping Ganesha, we don't just worship Ganesha, we also have to do what that worship means, which means bring the mind away from the material world and focus it on this essence, the secret essence, the hrīḥ in the heart, at the base. So there's some meaning to that. He protects her bathing place. And so also in Kashmir, when Swami Ambikananda and myself went to Kashmir, there's a temple. Many temples were destroyed in Kashmir. This one, for some reason, remains untouched. Right? It's untouched for, 1,000-year-old temple. And very dramatic Shiva Lingam is there. Right? Very ancient Shiva Lingam. And it's said there is where Shiva and Ganesha had the fight. That's interesting. Somehow I know that the fight happened there. I didn't spend enough time to get the topography and kind of imagine the battle. But it's I'm forgetting the name just now of the deity, but it's interesting that these things that are in the mythological world, that are in the internal mystical yogic world, they're also grafted on the geographic world, right? Through the tradition of tirthas, these holy places. And you go there, you're like, okay, I can see it. It happened here. It also like you go to Allahabad, there's a Kumbh Mela coming up in Prayagraj, Allahabad this year, right? And we say, there's a mantra, it says Ganga, Yamuna, and Saraswati. The Ganga is Ida, Yamuna is Pingala, and Saraswati is the Shushumna. And where they meet, that is Prayagraj, and bathing there frees one from all sins. That means Ida, Pingala, and Shushumna, this is where they meet. Merging here frees one from all sins. That's nice to say. Everybody just merge here, right? I don't know how to do that, but you can, for only $1,500, you can get a round trip ticket to India, and go and with 70 or 80 million of your closest friends take a bath at the Sangam, right? And when you're there, you think this is the center of the world, and this is also here, right? The physical place matches somehow, And some texts say, oh, idiots and fools go to Prayag to take a bath instead of here. Right. You can also, there's that type of verdict also. These are all externalists. Real yogis just dive into the third eye or something like this, right? But we're a little more practical, right? The external world and the inner reality has a correspondence in the geography of the sacred land. I think it's very, very helpful. Yeah, interesting. So I'm pretty sure it happened there, where Ganesha had his head cut off. It's a very beautiful place. Anything else? Yes. Yeah.
You said this was your favorite translation. Whose
Yeah.
translation?
No, this is mine. The translation is mine. Right. No, the translation. What I'm doing is my own translation. Right. Well, I said that I use this one. That I was a few translations that are there. One is by Swami Satyananda. The other one I'm forgetting. I'm embarrassed right now. It's published by Nandamaya Ashram. Right. These are the two that I know of. And I think I mentioned before, Gita Prana, Parvajika Gita Prana from the Vedanta Society, who's now in where is she, in New York, Ridgely Manor, where Swami Vivekananda lived in New York, right? She heads that center, manages that center, but she worked very hard and she translated 1,000 names. And then she came here, spent a weekend at Kali Mandir, and we typed them all in, and we worked on the translation with some notes. And then I lament to tell you that these were lost due to both a catastrophic computer failure, which is common for me, and a catastrophic, and then the hard copy was lost in a catastrophic flood that got into our boxes of books and things like that were outside our sheds, during the flood, whatever that year, the big flood that happened here some time ago, right? So one of the reasons we doing this again is I want to read, but I don't have the Sanskrit to translate. Sit there and translate the thousand. She thought about it very carefully and analyzed how to split the names and things like that. We debated at so many points and things like that. But those are lost, so I didn't want to lose it. So I've been just going through it. Anybody? No. It's a great loss. And the reason we chose that because these names are so really it's the full spectrum of Kali worship. Really, all the different the Dakshina Marg and Kaula Marg and Rama Marg and folk traditions and Puranic traditions and yoga and Vedanta and everything is presented. There's a name, and it's so interesting, So that's what started it. But I didn't want to lose it, and I go, at least it may take me some years, but if I translate 2-3 names a week, I can work on that. I look at the existence, like I said, the Swami Satyananda's other 2 translations are there, right? We're giving it our own. Oh, there's a few names that I'm still not that we've done. Most of the names that we've done, I'm pretty sure the meaning, right? I mean, the translation meanings are because you give a one-word translation, and then you speak 2-3 hours trying to all the background for that what it is, right? But there's a few names that we've given some discussions on, but I also am not. I don't even know. Have to ask pundits and things like that. Have to ask that the meaning's not fully clear. But yeah. Hariom Tatsat. It must be. What time is it? 6:38. Not so 8. Only 8 minutes late. That's pretty good for me. Jai Sri Guru Maharaj Ji Ki Jai, Jai Mahamayi Ki Jai, Jai Swamiji Maharaj Ji Ki Jai, Jai Ma Dakshineshwari Bhavatarini Dakshina Kali Ki Jai. So again, next week we'll meet, and then the following week is Holy Mother's Puja. Jai Ma. We'll do puja in the morning. Yeah, 11. And then a special arati and bhajans in the evening. All day. All day. No, we'll do the fire arati. We're gonna do. We'll keep it going. At least once a week we show arati and bhajans. Yeah. You can also show me trying to get out of. Unlock my legs. Yeah, it's getting harder. Of course, it helps if I were to try a little bit of exercise. No, go in now.
We usually just set this out.
No, we'll go back here.
We'll go back.
First.
Jai
दक्षिणेश्वरी दक्षिण काली की जय। भगवान श्री रामकृष्ण परमहंस देव की जय। जगन्माता श्री शारदा देवी की जय। युगाचार्य स्वामी विवेकानंद महाराज जी की जय। पूर्ण तीर्थ दक्षिणेश्वर धाम की जय। माँ पार्वती पते
हर हर
महादेव।
नर्मदे हर जटा शंकर जय।
But the effect, the effect, like the warm sound. I took it off for your talk, so good.
It was so warm.
No.
Cold, harsh sun. Such a show me how to do that.
Apakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharma swarupine avatar vishnaya Om Janani
Sharanam Devi Ramakrishnam Jagadguru Parapatme Ayostitva Pranamami
Om Mangalam
Gurudevaya Devi Matrichamangalam Mangalam Bhata Vindevyo Sarvalokaya Mangalam
Om Sarvamangala Mangale
Shive Sarvarthasarite Sharanye Sambhage Gauri Narayani Ganga ki jai, jai Yamuna ki jai, Ganga ki jai, Yamuna ki Ganga ki jai, Yamuna ki jai. सरस्वती त्रिवेणी माई की जय। राज महाराज जी की जय।
Move myself or the heavy instrument?
How big are the instrument?
Namah Shivaya.
Did changing the lumps change the sound or shouldn't?
I don't know. Just
Yeah, hard time.
it's hard to
Everything's
know.
up, but Radhike Sharanye Chambake Gauri Narayani Namaste Srishti Siti Vinashanam Shakti Bhute Sanatani Gunashraye Gunamane Narayani Namaste Sharanagadarinata Paritramparayane Sarvasya Hare Devi Narayani Namaste Jaya Narayani Namaste Jaya Narayani Namaste Jaya Narayani Namaste Jaya Narayani Namaste Jai Mahamai ki Jai Jai Bhagavan Shri Ramakrishna Deva ki Jai Jai Swami Ji Maharaj Ji ki Jai Jai Ma Dakshineshwari Bhavatarini Dakshina Kali ki Jai